take some over there. Oh, here.
Well, I gave it to one. You have to be in the picture.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Okay, well, I'm going to raise the screen right now.
Go. Call to order the council meeting of December 10th. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll? Could we hold it down, please? Okay, there's going to be a presentation by the city treasurer regarding this, the treasurer student intern program.
Yeah, I'd like to, we just completed the city treasurer's, the city treasurer student intern program is a 5-week program, and I had a total of 9 students that was in the program. And this is the first time I actually had practically all seniors. There was one that was in the 10th grade, and he was related to one of the other young ladies that were a senior in the class. And this was the first time they were, again, all in the 12th grade. And it was one of my really exceptional classes. And often, you know, we say that the youth is the leaders of tomorrow. You know, it's not just the youth, but it's these kinds of youth that's really the leaders of tomorrow. It was an excellent program, and the student did quite well on the exam. I'd just like to mention some of the grades. I mentioned that the students must achieve at least 85% on the exam, and the lowest score on the exam was 87%, so they all did quite well. And I'd just like to announce some of those scores. Jasmine Perez, 88%. Rakeem Morgan, 87. And they may be already standing, so kind of just raise your hand. Jasmine? Right here. Okay, 88%. And Rakeem Morgan, 87%. And Xavier Canchi, 87%. Brianna Molina, 99%. Roberta Rivera. Roberta, raise your hand. He was with us in the 10th grade, 88%. Yvette Flores, 95%. Susanna Carlos, 99%. And Paul Aniyi, 99%. And Vanessa Medina, 95%. And again, I certainly want to thank this council for their support. Councilman Padilla, who actually supported one of the food for the day. Thank you very much, Councilman. Councilman Dotson, who came and spoke to the group, and Councilman Morales, who also spoke to the group, as well as Councilman Franklin, who not only spoke to the group, also provided, gave us gift cards for McDonald's, so he always comes across very good. And lastly, our mayor, who was very, very supportive of the group and have always been very supportive of the group. And of course, I don't want to leave out Michael Falco, who taught 2 of the classes. Michael, raise your hand. And he has always been so very, very supportive, you know, of the program during our entire about 8-year time, because we always come to the ITC department. And I especially want to thank my clerk, who also has been very supportive in the past years. Thank you very much. And who also sponsored one of the lunches for one of the sessions. So thank you very much. So now I'm going to have each one of them come forward. Jasmine Perez. And just come forward and stand here. Come all the way over. Xavier Canchi. Raycon Morgan. No, right up here. Goes down. Brianna Molina. If you just line them up, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And Roberta Rivera. Yvette Flores. Susanna Carlos. And Paul Aniyi. I know I wouldn't get your name right, Paul, but well, we just called him Paul. And Vanessa Medina. And also with the parent of Jasmine Perez, please stand. If that person is here. Okay, no, keep standing. And the parent of Xavier Canchi. And the parent of Raycon Morgan. And Brianna Molina, if that parent is here. Oh, they're already standing in the back. Okay, just raise your hand then. And the parent of Roberta Rivera. Oh, they're standing already, okay. And Yvette Flores. Susanna Carlos. Thank you. And Paul. Okay, and Vanessa Medina. Very good. And I'd just like to share what the plaque says. It says, whereas the person attends whatever school they attend, and they have learned about the local city government, how elected officials represent their communities, and the operations of city departments, the responsibilities and duties of the city treasurer, strategies utilized by the treasurer in investing taxpayers' dollars, the importance of safety, liquidity, and yields in investing, and the importance of city investment policy. And whereas the person has learned basic financial and investment principles, the rule of 72, how money grows, the principle of safety, liquidity, and yield, and the importance of a personal budget. And whereas the person has learned to apply basic financial and investment principles taught in this program on a personal basis throughout her education and life, and the importance of consistent savings, minimizing credit card and other debt, maintaining good credit. And I told each student, if they don't remember anything, always remember once they do, graduate and get into the workforce, to live within your means and not abuse credit cards. And also for every dollar that you earn, not only to pay your church, but to pay yourself also out of every dollar you earn. And if you remember at least that if you don't remember anything else. So I'd like for the council, as well as the city clerk, and Michael Falcone, to join us for a picture. Jasmine?
Madam Clerk, you call the roll, is that correct? Any persons wish to address City Council on any item on today's agenda, may do so at this time.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor, we'd like to pull DR1 from the...
We're pulling DR1 with the exception of DR1.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Joseph Texera. I'm asking that the warrant register payment to Inglewood today not be made. Several reasons. One, as I've said here before, it's not fair to have taxpayers pay for your own campaigns. You know, everybody knows, that you have a tacit agreement with Willie Brown and his paper that as long as the money keeps coming into them, they'll attack your enemies and not say anything bad about you. They will cover up your violations of the law. They will cover up your misconduct. They will attack people using the most unethical and illegal methods they can think of. Let me give you an example. As you know, Willie Brown's being sued for libel. He lied. He was working for Alex Padilla. He decided, well, let me make up a story. Let me do something that sounds exciting. So he lied. That's what liars do. They lie. Just like people that know how to talk, when they get into trouble, they talk. People that know how to fight, when they get into trouble, they fight. People that know how to lie, when they get into trouble, they lie. Then it goes a little bit farther. When they want something, they lie. That's what liars do. And I don't think it's right for a liar and a newspaper that's run by a liar to be getting money from this city. Right here is the sworn declaration of Willie Brown. Like I said, he's being sued, and in it, he lies. This is a sworn declaration, and he lies. Another problem with that is when liars lie and they want to try to get out of it, they start pulling in their buddies to get them to lie. They got David Rice to lie under oath. He lied in a sworn declaration. Not a lie that he might get away with, a lie that if you look at the video, it's clear he lied. So either he's stupid for thinking he can get away with it, or he's stupid because he thinks that someone won't eventually find out. He's on the Planning Commission. We have a liar on the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission says who can build this and do that. I forget what city it was. Somebody just got in trouble on a planning commission or a council somewhere else because they said they would get a project moved through if they got paid. If a man will lie under oath, he'll take a bribe. I don't know if he'll do it, but that's the way it works. Dishonest people do dishonest things to make money and get ahead. This is a man who doesn't do anything. Now he's on the planning commission for no other reason that he helped somebody win a campaign and was willing to lie to do it. Our money shouldn't be spent like that. Our money, we've got lots of papers. I haven't seen Inglewood Today in front of my house in months. I see at least three other papers that come pretty regularly. Willie Brown's a liar, and he should not get money from this city.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You all know who I am. And it's just ironic that I'm following this man here that's speaking of lying. You know, I'm about to say that there's no transparency. And I'm speaking on the ordinance, 01. And I'm going to take you back a little bit about the ordinance that came out, say, October 1, where I brought to the attention of certain individuals about 10 new positions, 11 salary changes or title changes is what it was. So we went round and round, and they assured me that there were not going to be any increases because basically the range was kind of, say, suppressed to the minimum of what the range was. So I just happened to say, let me pull up the agenda for the day, and I see that there is a salary range posted today. Mm-hmm. Those same positions that were supposed to have been eliminated are still there, and then I saw quite a few more. So it's like somebody lying.
Actually, 01 is going to be pulled, but go ahead.
It ain't pulled yet, thank you.
It is now, but go ahead.
So basically, being that, we are in talks and, you all know me, I've been asking certain questions and this, that, and the other, as far as where's the money, and you know, it's been quoted that say you don't come to Inglewood and expect to have a job for life, but people do come here to expect to end their career and retire. But it seems like Inglewood is hiring retirees. What can I say? Look at the majority of the council. We have other people that's, you know, retired and they're coming back working, but then we're talking about laying folks off. Not only laying folks off, but the word of outsourcing is just prevalent. And, you know, it seems like the council is moving forward with this. Not to mention, you know, benefits that one is trying to cut. Like one said, they could care less about it. Maybe because, you know, they covered. But like I say, we got people that have come here to achieve a certain goal, and it's just being drugged from under them. I mean, where's the mercy at? Show us some love, because the people that have been putting in years like myself here have given the city of Inglewood love. So all they are expecting is love themselves. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Honorable Mayor Butts, honorable council members, I'm Ryan Hudson. I'm a policy analyst with SEIU Local 721. Really quickly about me, I was trained at UCLA in public
Ryan,
finance.
real quick, but what item are you going to talk about on the agenda?
I'm sorry, I'm more broadly speaking on item 01, which is what Joe touched on.
01 has been pulled, but you're welcome to
Okay.
come back at the end of the council meeting and talk on anything you want.
Okay, would you mind if I spent 3 minutes broadly talking about some issues going on in the city, Mr. Mayor?
I would, because then we'd have to have everybody that was going to speak off topic do it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So you can come back at the end.
Good evening, council members. My name is Diane Sombrano, and I'm going to speak to the entire agenda. First of all, let's begin with what we have on it. Well, let me see. Let's start at the beginning. Payment of bills, and once again, there is that payment that everybody's been concerned about for that, well, the personal political praise piece. We all know what it is, and yet it still continues. But I got to say, it is kind of interesting that if you can't figure out what Ms. Aldine was speaking about last week as opposed to special meetings that get called, all you had to do was ask her or listen. We do have the tapes. You can go back and figure that out. She was talking about the meeting that was on a Monday, and she didn't get an answer because someone tried to construe that she didn't know what she was talking about, but she actually did. Then I'm going to address the fact that in that publication, you have on the December 5th edition, 5th, that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're closed, that the public hearing for tonight will have its final day. So if you didn't get the paper inside City Hall on Thursday, or if you did, you couldn't get a copy of anything Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, which meant you had Monday to address the 156 pages. But wait, last week when we went downstairs to get a copy of the paper, it wasn't in the clerk's office. As a matter of fact, in years past, all things went through the clerk's office, but we've stopped doing that. So now you have to go to individual departments. Wow, that's going to be fun. Another little Brown Act thing, I think. But that goes right into item number 2, CSA 2H2 and F1. Now, we're so hurried up to get out of here, we don't even bother to call meetings in and out of session to vote for the individual minutes. Now we just want quick and speedy, let's get on out of here because there must be something really good on TV. Isn't that what it's about? Because you tried to do the entire agenda last week with 2 votes. So why would I think that you're actually earning the money that you are happily taking? But I can't address that because you took out 01 at the last minute after someone decided to speak on it. How about that? Let's go on to public hearings. I can't address those, but you know I will in a minute. Okay, finance, another consultant, liquid ammonia. This is the final meeting of the year when we typically have significant stuff, and this agenda's been gutted. Wow, I think there's been decisions made behind closed doors. I don't, for any reason on this planet, believe that any of you are functioning in accountability and transparency. We have the agenda to prove it.
Gil Matthew, District 4, Mayor and City Council. I'd like to speak on payment of the bills. Mr. Fields, is this city $1.1 billion in outstanding debt?
As I've stated in the past, it's inappropriate for me to comment during this time on items that are not scheduled on the agenda. You need to save those questions until the council public comments at the end if they should choose to take on your question.
Mr. Fields, financing is on the agenda, payment of the bills. You have to pay the outstanding debt of $1 billion. Now, who told you that the finance is not on the agenda? Somebody directed you to say that? Mr. Mayor, are we in $1.1 billion in outstanding debt? He can't answer either. You see, this is the problem we have here. We need leadership. Now we have the fourth quarter of 2012 and 13. We haven't got the budget report. I can't get it. I asked for it. They won't give it to me. The first quarter of 14 ends on December 30th. You don't even know how much money you have. How can you know you don't have the reports? Or you're not being transparent with the people? But anyway, all I'm saying is you need transparency to the people. The people are with you, and you don't recognize it. That's called leadership, okay? So you got to man up. What is. These are not children you're dealing with. You're dealing with people's lives. Now, as far as the union, I support the union. I stand here before you because of the union. Mr. Franklin, he sits there. He's that 770 man. I've been AFL-CIO since 1957, and I'll be no ways tired. I came here with Joe Da Silva, with the Teamsters. Then you had a union. And I stand here before you because of the union, no other reason. Now, on item 4, is that a split contract? Now, you have two people buying liquid ammonia, one $35,000 and the other whatever it is. Why don't you have one contract? How much you paying per unit for each one? That sounds like a split contract. Somebody is getting out of limited how much you can contract on one. See, you're starting to play games with people, and the game is over. Now, we had something
Thank you, Mr.
with
Matthew.
sequestration.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay?
Please,
It's gone.
sir, if you insist on doing that, I'm warning you, we're not going to do that. Too many people in here. Let's just, you have decorum. Thank you very much. All right. All right, we'll close public comment. Item 1, CSA 1 and H1. Madam Clerk.
Oh, second. I didn't hear the second.
Councilman Dotson.
Oh, thank you. Council members Dotson,
Aye.
Padilla,
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Butts.
Aye. Item 2, CSA 2, H2. Did we open the Housing Authority?
A quorum is present.
H2 and F1 open the Finance Authority as well.
Approval of the minutes held October 15th and October 22nd, 2013, in the successor agency, August 27th, September 10th, October 8th, October 15th and 22nd in the housing, July 16th, 23rd, 30, August 13th, September 10th, October 8th, October 15th, October 22nd, finance September 17th.
Move approval.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council and agency members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Butts.
Aye. We're going to move to the consent calendar. Items 3, 4, 5, and 6.
So moved.
Mayor, I move item 3.
You're pulling item 3?
I am.
Pulling it.
Yes.
Items 4, 5, and 6. Second for approval.
Second is Morales?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
second
Council members Dodson,
Aye.
Padilla,
Aye.
Morales,
it. Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Item 3.
Staff report recommending approval of amendment to agreement with SMF Consulting LLC for professional accounting assistance and consulting services.
Staff report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council.
Good evening. Evening.
Tonight, this item is in front of you. It is recommended to take the following action to approve an amendment to the agreement for professional accounting assistance and consulting services with SMF Consulting for an additional amount of $45,000 for a total contract amount of $88,750 and to extend the contract for an additional year. To give you some background, about a year ago, when the new chief financial officer was hired, one of the things he was specifically tasked with was to address the audit findings as a result of our annual audits. One of the main and significant tasks that we've been addressing is related to the bank reconciliations and the cash. One of the tasks that this consultant has been assisting staff with is looking at our system when the city implemented a new Eden system back in 2006. The entire layout of how the cash handling and the cash processes were going to change wasn't really looked at and implemented. So staff, since that time, has been challenged with keeping up with the volume of transactions that are going through our cash accounts. In order to really address this issue, this consultant has been assisting with looking at our how our bank recs are done and looking at ways that the staff has been extracting and compiling data and has been linking files so that the volume of activity that comes through the city's cash accounts can be done much quicker and much more efficiently. We are at this point where we have linked all of our bank accounts, have looked through the entire cash activity for the entire fiscal year, linked to the investment accounts. What we're doing is also training staff, so the existing staff has a better understanding of the entire process because the intent is for staff to take this over and to do this. It's been a fairly enormous task. It's very tedious. As you can imagine, having a full account with the city, there's volumes of transactions that are going through that account. And this is a request so we can finish this task because we're very close to finishing it, and we want to make sure that we address our audit findings.
Questions, Council?
Thank you so much. First of all, I have several major issues with the recommendation. The first and foremost is that this council had approved for this contract to be implemented on October the 8th. Here it is less than 3 months, and you're coming back asking for this council to increase the value more than the official value of the contract. Doesn't make sense. Seems like, wait a minute, let me finish. It seems like that the workload was pre-identified by Finance Department and brought before us a contract that would address the issues. And in fact, I will refer to the agreement on, I'm sorry, I said October 8th, but it's October the 15th. On October the 15th, I have the contract in front of me, which specifically spells out the same items that you are addressing here this evening as to the areas of concern. So, and I will highlight the scope of services in the agreement of October 15th, 2013 says that it will review the policies and procedures and identify data source. It would also document workflow process. 3, it will create Excel models and automate tasks. 4, train staff. 5, set up accounting procedures. 6, document procedures. 7, document workflow in the NSF process, or not sufficient fund process, and internal controls. And finally, document specifications for crystal reports. In this amendment that you are bringing before us, there is no reference that there's been any change or modification of the consultant services, other than the more than 100% of the current value of the contract. So I have great concerns. One, that it has not been vetted out, that the services that have already been approved by this council for a one-year agreement, and it does have an opportunity to extend it for an additional year, where in fact you're just getting started less than 3 months of the current contract, and then you're coming back to us saying, by the way, we want to go ahead and extend it. So I have great concern of supporting this.
Okay. You're correct in the scope of services that were covered, and when we initially started with this contract, not knowing exactly what we were going to get into, those were the topics that he has been looking into. He has documented our standard operating procedures. He has looked into our policies. He's actually mapped out how the entire, how our cash and bank processes are flowing. One of the things that he has already completed is our standard operating procedures on, for instance, how insufficient checks that are returned to the city. There are various ways for those returned items to be processed depending on where it's initiated, whether it's through a parking ticket, a permit, or through over the counter. And how those are handled, each one of them is handled separately. And I'll give you an example. When I asked how are certain checks handled, it took me about an hour and a half to find out because I was running from staff to staff. So one of the things that we asked them to do was we really wanted to document how our processes work, our standard operating procedures, which is referred to as the SOPs. Because some of the staff have had only limited knowledge of what their portion was. They really didn't have the full picture. One of the things that we're asking him to do is in documenting these processes is to help staff have a better understanding of how the entire processes are working for the city. When we talk about the bank recs and the cash reconciliations, a lot of our processes we were compiling and extracting data manually. If you can imagine having a journal pooled account and the volume of transactions that are coming through the city, there have been a lot of transactions where just staff was being challenged on how we were going to compile the data. What we have been doing is downloading information from our banks using the banking software.
Okay, so before my time finishes, and then I will give you the time, but I got only a few seconds. I just want to acknowledge that on the October 15th, when we adopted the contract, that the consultant submitted a proposal dated October 2nd for such services, knowing that in interviewing the staff, they ascertained as to the value of their contract. And it covers training staff. It also covers the workflow process of the NSF process. What I'm clearly trying to say is that to come to us now is premature, in my opinion, in my position, and the fact that we approved a contract, there's been no amendment to the contract identifying there's additional services. So to say that you now want to increase the contract twice the value, I find it disappointing because the contract hasn't been vetted out, at least for the first 6 to 9 months, to identify now that you're deep into it, that it should merit this substantial increase. And I'm through comment.
Mr. Esparza, do you have anything to add as to the modification of the contract?
Yes, as Ms. Koike has already indicated, there's been a number of revelations within the finance department. We are bringing on, professional services in order to address that, because as we cut deeper and deeper into our operations, we're finding that there are other faults, gaps, missing pieces that, are not being, correctly monitored. As this council knows that the city, when I arrived, had 27 findings, within our audits. This past year, we were able to correct 12 of them, but we also got back 9 additional ones. And so we've made a net, headway on this and resolving 3 audits. And so the use and expansion of these consulting services is to address those types of issues that are underlying our operations. This goes into many of the different pieces. Ms. Koike also mentioned our cash, being able to reconcile the cash position for the city, I think is extremely important. However, it has not been reconciled for a number of years, which means we don't know how much money we have in our cash accounts and where that money needs to be put back into. And so all of this becomes very, very important as we try to increase the financial controls for this city, and then also make headway in training our staff in order to be able to handle these transactions appropriately with the right documentation. These conversations have even included the treasurer's office. And so, we're looking at, trying to get our hands on a very, very complex, issue that becomes very important for the city in maintaining its fiscal health.
So, Mr. Sparks, are you saying this represents an expansion of services that weren't contemplated for the original
that's absolutely
allocation?
Correct. Yes.
Then where is it located, Mayor, if I may ask?
Well, I was going to finish. And so, so how would you articulate that if the underlying documents remain the same? How would you articulate the additional scope of services, be it in actual type of work product or time? Just help, that's what the councilman's trying to understand.
I guess it really goes to the point of, when we started this, we didn't realize how deep and wide the issues were. Mm-hmm. And so, once the consultants started, working with our staff, going through the various points that, we thought we could at least have a handle on, they became much more complex. Mm-hmm. One of the ideas here that, we started with, different audit findings and tried to trace them back to the origin of those particular issues. And once you started peeling back the onion, we found that there was, more training that was needed. There was more direction that, had to be then documented, for our staff, so that, once again, we had to get to a point of a foundation within, our operations, and then start building from there.
Councilman Morales?
I get that. In terms of, even if you get your bathroom done, as soon as they tear out the floor, sometimes the wood, you didn't expect that you were going to need that. So it's similar to growing deeper, and I get that, I understand that. You found problems that you didn't think were there, or they were bigger than you thought. That makes sense. Since the councilman brought up the other issue of it was just 3 months ago, is there a reason we're not waiting another few months before doing this? That's more in line to the question. Maybe you can answer that.
I think that if it's a timing issue, then the councilman may have a good point. However, we're coming up on a very busy period of time for the finance department, and as soon as we get back from the holidays, we will be starting our audit preparation for the audit for 2012-13. And so all of that then has to be staged as well. And so, right now, the finance department is working very hard in order to, make sure that the water billings and everything else go out during the holidays, because we will be shut down. Mm-hmm. We've got a number of other issues within, some grant funds that will have to be reconciled. But as we come back, January, February, March, the finance department is going to be running very fast in order to catch up and make sure that all the preparation is made, both on the audit services that need to be then put in place, as well as the preparation of the city's annual budget.
Yeah, and I understand where we're at, and I don't have a problem with the timing. And I should also point out that your department is one of the departments that continuously shows up when City Hall is closed to finish work, and will be doing so through the holidays. So I appreciate that. Those are all my comments, Mayor, and I'm ready to move the item if you want.
Final question, Mr. Esparza. Are you comfortable that you're able to track the difference in deliverables from the original amount to the enhanced amount?
Yes, I am.
All right.
So moved.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
No.
Mayor Butts.
Aye.
Thank you.
SPH 1.
Staff report requesting that a public hearing be set to consider amendment to Chapter 12 of the Inglewood Municipal Code to include provisions to allow billboards on islands, triangular, it's on.
Go ahead, continue.
Islands, triangular, or irregularly shaped corner residentially zoned
Excuse
properties.
me. Excuse me, folks.
The mic is on. I can't
Go-
do anything.
Mr. Matthew, please. Go ahead, Madam Clerk, please.
I finished.
All right. Set the public hearing for January 14th, 2014 at 7 p.m. SPH 2.
Staff report requesting that a public hearing be set to consider an ordinance to amend Chapter 12 of the Inglewood Municipal Code to modify regulations related to super graphics displays.
Set the public hearing for January 14th, 2014 at 7 p.m. 01 has been pulled. DR1,
It was pulled.
it was pulled. Okay, Madam Clerk, what's the next scheduled matter?
The next scheduled matter is a public hearing to receive input and approve the fiscal year 2012-13 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report for submission to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, Los Angeles Field Office.
Has the notice of this hearing been given in the time, form, and manners required by law? And do you have the affidavit on file?
Notice has been given and affidavit is on file.
Have any communications been received?
No communications have been received.
Mr. City Manager, is there staff report on the matter?
Yes, Damian Pipkin will give the staff report.
Please come forward, Mr. Pipkin.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm here to speak about the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2013. And these are the HUD funds that we received for Community Development Block Grant, for Home Investment Partnerships Act, and for the now Homelessness Emergency Solutions Grant. I want to just speak briefly on each program and some of the accomplishments. So for Community Development Block Grant, we're able to reconstruct 18 sidewalks in CDBG eligible areas. We were able to also complete 46 wheelchair ramps, pedestrian ramps as well, and 4 streets in CDBG eligible areas. We conducted summer camps for youth, which benefited 80 low-income children. Senior meals benefited 57 seniors who are homebound, unable to shop for themselves and things of that nature. And the Housing Rights Center, which helps tenant-landlord disputes, assisted 530 residents. Under home, we were able to rehab a 4-unit housing complex for developmentally disabled persons and some who have mental illness. The Regent Square Apartments was completed, and of the 145 units that were leased up, 24 of those were funded with home funds. And tenant-based rental assistance assisted 55 persons who were either veterans, permanently disabled persons receiving SSDI, or seniors, 62 or older, who are very low income. And also we helped homeowners. Well, we created homeowners. Last year at this time, we had assisted people entering into escrow, and we were able to close on 4 homes, 3 here in the city of Inglewood and 1 in the city of Hawthorne. That is my report for the 2013 fiscal year CAPER. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any persons present who wish to address the council on this matter?
Council members, I would hope, and as you see, I'll point it out to the rest of the world, that these chairs do not work. you need to put something in here to make it actually, let's see, we have daytime meetings supposedly for the elderly and those who cannot make it. I would think that we could fix some supposed handicap, that's what the sign on the back is, so that it is easy for Mr. Matthews and others to get up. You've been not taking care of that for some time. I would hope that maybe that would be one of the CBDG eligible things, disabilities and all. But you know, as I looked at that, I got to tell you, I think it was 156 pages. Why do we have to be able to see things online in order to be able to respond? Because it was not physically available. We tried last week. Why is there not a process for that which takes place in planning to make it down to the clerk's office, for that which takes place in park and recreation and sound insulation to make it down to the clerk's office? We should not have to be running up and down stairs to find this stuff. It should all be at the library as well. That was the practice in times gone by. And I got to tell you, because of the late notice, December 5th in Inglewood Today Weekly Magazine, my comments will go directly to HUD. That way you won't get to respond because you didn't choose that I should be able to get to respond. I'll have a lot to say. They'll probably read it. In the past, y'all haven't paid attention. Maybe someone who gives the money will. Kind of like the little DA letter.
Gil Matthew, District 4, I'm there in City Council. I did receive the capers finally, and I have a copy of it, and I've been reading it. And I haven't been able to complete it. However, I did read some of it. And one of the concerns about is I'd like to have some oral explanation on the conversion date of our Section 8 housing buildings. And what it is, and from what I understand, that it goes to market rate, and I want to know, does that mean a cessation of Section 8 vouchers? But it's very important because all of the conversion dates are coming up this year and some early in 14. So what effect would it have on the housing and the tenants being able to afford market rate housing? So that's the major concern I have, and I haven't been able, time enough. I did get it, but it wasn't available in time for me to complete reading. So I don't know what the filing date is, but if you have any extension on the filing date, the final filing date, I would recommend that you do it if you can have another meeting, prior to the deadline. And that way we can have more information out. But it's a very serious thing that's happening. And it's going to have a big effect on Inglewood, particularly on the affordable housing part of it. And I might tell you, there's breaking news today, which is good. They have rescinded the sequestration. So it's good news for the local communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Close public comment. Any council comments?
Yes, Mayor, if I may.
Councilman Franklin.
Yes, I just want to thank staff. At the last meeting we had, I raised some issues that, since this matter was going to HUD, that we tweaked the document, specifically that there was concerns of substitute material that I brought up, and that it has been corrected in this final draft. So I want to thank you for that. And also, I want to thank the city manager also of viewing in the current caper that we're working on, that we're also looking at the preschool funding to be appropriated also for this current caper. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Move item 2.
Oh, may I have one comment?
Yes.
Quickly? For those who do want to comment on the document, you may still comment up to December 19, because there's basically a 15-day comment period that began on the 3rd, because we have published a caper for a receive and file, and so that period does not close until December 19, and then that's when the document will be delivered to HUD. And you can bring your comments to the 7th floor, the Housing Division. Okay.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Council members Dodson,
Aye.
Padilla,
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Motion to waive further reading.
That's
No,
all.
no, authorize submission and approve caper to HUD.
Just page one.
Hold on.
I so move.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members Dodson,
Aye.
Padilla,
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. I was on the wrong item.
That's okay.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, what's the next scheduled matter?
The next scheduled matter is a public hearing to consider zoning code amendments 2013-01 to modify regulations for emergency shelter, transitional and supportive housing, and miscellaneous housing related to definitions.
Has the notice of this hearing been given in the time, form, and matters required by law? And do you have the affidavit on file?
Notice has been given, and affidavit is on file.
Is the complete file of the Planning Commission present?
Yes, it is.
Have any communications been received on the matter?
No communications have been received.
Is there a staff report on this matter, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Acting Economic and Community Development Director, Ms. Linda Tatum, will give the staff report.
Ms. Tatum, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This item is a public hearing for a zoning code amendment to modify the municipal code to include regulations regarding emergency shelters, transitional housing, and supportive housing, and also to add definitions. And all of these actions are actions that the state law mandates that the city have as a component of its housing element. Just a little bit of background. The city's current housing element was adopted by this council in June of 2012, and the fundamental purpose of the housing element is to provide the opportunity for all different types of housing for all segments of the community. And this amendment is particularly critical to the city because once it is adopted, not only is it required by state law, but once it's adopted, the city would then be eligible to have its housing element certified by the State Department of Housing and Community Development. And if it's not adopted, the city would not have a certifiable housing element. And there are some financial implications for that that I'll get into very briefly. But to just give you a sense of what the ordinance does, this essentially establishes the code to include a provision that allows emergency shelter. Right now, the city's zoning code doesn't have any mention of emergency shelter, and the state law is just saying you got to put it in the code and you got to identify the most appropriate place for it. So staff did an analysis of all of the zones in the city to say where's the most appropriate zone, given that it's a use that you have to have in the city. So we looked throughout the city and ultimately determined that the M1 zones were the most appropriate location for a number of reasons. Those zones are close to where some of the homeless populations in the community currently, I don't want to say hang out, but where they are. But it's also close to services. It's also the location that has the larger plots of land that might be available should someone come in and want to build an emergency shelter. And the whole purpose of this is then to establish that as a permitted use in the M1 zone. But in addition to establishing it as a permitted use, the other thing is that we thought it was appropriate to put in very specific standards to assure that the development is compatible and didn't create impacts in the community. So along with allowing it as a use in the M1 zone, we've put in standards that make sure that they are not too close to each other. There is a distance requirement. You can't have one shelter within 300 feet of another. You have to have, there has to be what we call an intake facility to preclude people from loitering because there's only beds. So there's an intake requirement to prevent the queues. There's also a requirement for on-site management 24 hours a day. So if someone were to come in to build it, they would have to have on-site management 24 hours a day. And there's also a maximum of 100 beds. So you couldn't build a facility larger than accommodating 100 beds. There's also parking requirements and a requirement for lighting and security. So all of the things to assure that the use is compatible, not only in the M1 zone, but also that it can accommodate the use that will be made of the facility. So that addresses the emergency shelter, and as you know, emergency shelter is for a limited time duration. You can't stay in an emergency shelter for more than 180 days. So that's the code amendment related to emergency shelters. The other code amendment addresses what's called transitional housing and supportive housing. Transitional housing is the type of housing that's not permanent, but it's not emergency. It's right in the middle. It's when you take homeless people in and they're transitioning to a point where they can get permanent housing. So the state requirement there is that you have to also address or acknowledge that this is a use within your city at some location. So in our code, we've added that as a permitted use as well at any other location where residential is permitted. However, for those types of uses to be in other locations, they do require an SUP. So this puts in an SUP in the M1 zone for the transitional or supportive housing. And lastly, the supportive housing is the type of housing that can be supportive, but it provides support services such as employment assistance or counseling, other types of services for people who are transitioning to permanent housing. And lastly, the code adds definitions for homelessness, and it also clarifies the city's current definition for a family to be consistent with federal law, because federal law says you can't discriminate in terms of putting an arbitrary number on how many people are in a family. And our code has a numerical limit, so we're just removing the numerical limit and broadening it to effectively be consistent with state law. And lastly, I just wanted to clarify that should the City Council adopt this code amendment as it's proposed, it would then, as I indicated earlier, bring the city into compliance with state law. We can then get our housing element certified. The benefit of getting our housing element certified by the February 14th deadline is that we would then have the ability to have 8-year cycles for updating our housing element rather than 5 years. So that's certainly a benefit to the city to not have to update it quite as frequently. The other benefit is that it makes the city eligible for different types of grants that the state offers to communities for housing. For example, TOD housing funding. If you have a certified housing element, you're not only eligible for that funding, but you get a priority based upon your having a certified housing element as opposed to not having a certified housing element. And lastly, there are also park funds, not for purchasing parkland, but for capital improvements for parks based upon having a certified housing element. So the state is really ramping up the accountability for cities, and they're doing some things to incentivize, encouraging cities to get certified housing elements, but they're also, in some cases, penalizing them with those longer or shorter review periods if they don't. So I would, in closing, I would just like to recommend that the City Council adopt the negative declaration and introduce the ordinance to make these modifications to the city zoning code.
Thank
so
you.
I'll close and answer any questions you might have.
First, are there any persons present who wish to address the council on the matter?
Gil Matthew, District 4. The volume was down, so it was difficult to hear. Mm-hmm. Some way you're not coming close enough to the microphones when you're speaking. However, I did hear most of it. And what my comment is this, that I would like to see this definitely restricted to certain areas, particularly M1 or industrial areas. And I object to that SUP or special use permit because it works very difficult without causing problems. Because if you have property in the R1 area, those are homeowners, and you're going to have a lot of objection, even if you get a special use permit. So I would definitely be against this as it is, or either you can amend it where it would be definitely restricted to certain zones. But in no way you could put in this ordinance where it would be in R1 or R2 areas, because you're leaving yourself open to a lot of problems. And we have enough problems anyway, so we don't need any addition to that, particularly concerning the residents. And we all in this together and trying to make this a good city. And so we don't need any kind of ordinance where it's restricted, definitely restricted to M1 or industrial, or either, rather than do that, have certain conditions where it's away from R1 or R2, because how rumors go around Inglewood, and some of the areas have already been selected, and it's close to R1 areas, particularly District 1. Mr. Dotson, so be aware of that, sir. So I would hope that you would be aware of it and restrict it to zone conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
If time is not of the essence, and then you have time, you know, where you're not going to miss out on your money.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and staff. I was not going to speak on this, but since Mr. Matthews brought up District 1, I think the City Council has District 1 targeted for a lot of negative things. And if you're going to change the structure of District 1 and try to put in, use this PH1 to further destroy District 1, you're going to have a lot of problems. And Councilman Dotson, I hope that you make all the residents in District 1 aware of what the plans are that the City Council has for District 1.
Good evening. Hi, Felicia Ford. I'm not sure what it says, the lady that was commenting on Zone 1, and I took the map, and Zone 1, it's hard to read this map, but I'm not sure what 1 is, you know, Zone 1. And so therefore, you know, when you say 1, we kind of think of District 1, but I hope it's not District 1. You know, as far as the homeless is concerned, a lot of us pay property taxes. There are more homes in this city than there are apartments. When you say homeless, if the homeless is a transition from you being homeless from your house or from some accident happening like the fire that was on Region with the elderly, they were displaced and they were moved to a park for an amount of days. Was very strenuous on them because they had to sleep on cots. I would like to make sure that everything we do, of course, is a state of art. And I know Mayor Butts believes in that. I go way back with him. He's a good-hearted man, I feel, personally. And I will address that later, maybe today or another time, because I don't like them continue to attack the mayor. I think it's time we let that go. But getting back to this Zone 1, I just want to make sure I, all due respect, want the homeless to be placed somewhere. But I want to tell you, I've seen homeless locations. Some of them don't want to be placed in homeless facilities. They much rather live on the streets. We don't want loitering. We don't want anything to bring down the city, especially as people loitering and homeless people that don't want a place to stay. And so the reason why I mentioned residents is that we have, my property taxes, I've been here 23 years owning this one home besides another one, but I pay $2,200 a year in property taxes. And they went up $200 for whatever reason, so it's now $2,200. But I want to say that I like for the city to be careful in how you spend my money, and I don't think we have a serious problem of homeless people in this city.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ford.
Council members, I think she just showed you the map, but no one else who attended this meeting had the opportunity to see that map unless they walked back there. You didn't show it on a screen? How does anyone know what was spoken about? Nobody here has a nice little crystal ball. We can't hear because the microphones are not working. They are working back over here for the audio tape that will be broadcast, but the people in this room have no clue what was being said up here because we couldn't even hear the clerk speak. So this was not genuinely a presentation for the people who bothered to leave their homes to participate in what will be the future of their community. And so I'm going to suggest that not only as it is introduced, but that you also have the entire thing brought back with video so people know what the area is, where we can genuinely participate in this decision. Because without microphones, it sounded like at best. And without a map that was in color for people to see what the area is, that's always one of my pet peeves. Everything is a shade of not so distinct gray. Surely we have a color printer somewhere, and if we don't, why do we have that brand new TV downstairs? We've been spending a lot of money, and if we can't drop 49 cents for a color print, we seriously mismanage.
My name is Willie A.G., and I live in the beautiful city of Inglewood, and proud of it. I want to commend the young lady for such a thorough report. Typical Inglewood staff. I don't know all the answers, but I do know that we have a small problem here in the city of Inglewood as far as the homeless people. I know there's one gentleman that's been sitting on the bench on Central Boulevard in Prairie for the last 2 years. I passed that the other day, and it was raining. And the people that were waiting on the bus was standing in the rain, and he was all wrapped up. This man should be moved. I believe he's in the 4th District, Mr. Franklin. And he's been there for over 2 years. And he don't have a restroom there. I don't know where he takes care of his business, but I would like for someone in the city to look into this. And again, I'd like to commend this young lady here for doing such a thorough job. Appreciate it. And I'm sick of people picking on my mayor. Every time we get a black person that's doing a great job in a black area, even as far as the district attorney comes out and start picking on him.
You know what, you do have to keep yourself.
Just like they did
Mr.
Mayor
Agee,
Dawn.
Mr. Agee,
Thank you very much.
You have to keep yourself to the side.
All right.
Can I respond to his statement about the homeless?
No, but you can talk about the, excuse me, folks, it's just one chair. What you can do, you could talk about anything related to this public hearing item, and so that would fall into it.
Okay. My name is Cinder Eller. I work for the Police Department Community Affairs. Mr. Agee, the gentleman you just spoke about, yes, he is a problem, but we're working on that. Okay. I'm one that works with the homeless, and we're trying our best, but we are cleaning up. We have cleaned up a lot this last week, and we're going to do another cleanup this come Thursday. So that gentleman, we're going to work on that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Inglewood family, I think you'll be able to hear me all right. But, you know, a lot of people, I hear all this stuff, and they don't take in consideration those people out on the street. I've been a resident of Inglewood since 1951. And those people have their civil rights. They have the right to be any place that's public property. And they need to be respected. Now, what we need to do is to help them somehow. We got 100 churches in this city, plus. And praise the Lord, we're going to help someone. You know, that's the way I read it, you know, because we're not doing nothing except want to sweep them away, sweep them out. And you can't do that. They've got their rights too. And you know, if they have an alcohol drug problem, then you can't make them do anything about that either, see? But what you can do is work out a good system of some kind. You might go right up the street here and ask some help from Salvation Army. They're the pros, let me tell you that for a fact. They've got a facility over in Bell that's, I don't know how many hundreds of people they keep over there. They've got one over in Santa Monica, several of them in Santa Monica. There's that one at 500 Olympic there that's outstanding. But you can't force someone to go over to those places, see? And what we probably need is something in this city, and people don't want to do that. Now, you can't make the churches take them in either. So what are you going to do? You need to get to the drawing board and figure some things that are with Christian values, because we got 100 churches in town, to help these people, and not to push them around.
Okay, close public comment. Oh, one more? Please, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Kenya Ellis, resident of District 1. In light of the report that we just heard, and since a lot of people pointed out that there is no map available, would it be possible to at least hear the boundaries for the area of which she had suggested for this planned homeless and transitional type of development?
Okay, close public comment. Actually, Ms. Tatum, I was going to say that even after having been a policeman for 19 years, that it is difficult to discern this map. So one of the things I would recommend that later that we post a color version, and also with your boundaries articulated as you're about to discuss right now. And I think there's some confusion because of the M1, that the assumption is it's in District 1 when that's actually not the truth. It's all to the west of La Brea. So go ahead.
So, Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to clarify the map. I can generally describe to you the boundaries of the city's M1, which is light manufacturing zone. And generally, per this map, the city's industrial areas, or M1 areas, are north of Florence Boulevard, starting at La Brea, traveling along Florence, north of Florence. It's all the industrial area where Marvin Engineering is, all along, and it goes all the way over to the westerly boundary of the city. The other major industrial area of the city is everything west of the 405 freeway that's within the city of Inglewood is an M1 or a light manufacturing zone. Everything other than right on the corridor of Manchester, it's heavy commercial, but behind the frontage on the corridor, it's all industrial, and everything along La Cienega all the way over to the city limit.
Okay.
That's all industrial. Mayor, I have one other comment.
Certainly.
I just wanted to comment that these changes to the code, there is no proposal for any development. The city is not proposing to do a homeless development. The state just says the opportunity has to be available should someone from the private come in. But what we know at this time is that these homeless shelters are very expensive to build. There's no state funding for them. So it's unlikely that we'll be seeing one of these developed in this city for quite some time because there's just no money to build them.
And you got to what I wanted to get at. Basically, this is our response to SB 2, a Senate bill that requires that we have such a provision in our housing element to continue our eligibility for other opportunities from the state. There is no proposal either by the city or by a private entity to operate such a center, and we picked the light industrial area because it was segregated from residential areas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And again, it's so It's a great distance from District 1, is that correct?
Yes, it
All right,
is.
thank you. All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councilman Franklin?
Comment, Mayor.
Comment.
First of all, I want to thank staff and Mr. Fields for giving a better definition of the separation from one shelter to the next. I appreciate that very much. And as you've adequately put it, and the mayor reconfirmed it, that has nothing to do with District 1 for the emergency shelters. However, for transitional and supportive housing, and I quote, transitional and supportive housing must be allowed by right in residential zones. And we currently have, and I'll speak for District 4, 2 areas that we identified by this council for transitional housing that was approved by the landlord of those facilities, which happens to be on Imperial Highway and Crenshaw Boulevard. With reference to also what the public had commented, that they have rights. And for them to be on public right-of-way, they have rights. It's when they go off the public right-of-way that they becomes issues. And that's why we constantly have addressed those concerns. And yes, there is a increase in population of homelessness. It's not that the willingness of this council not opposing it, it is desire of the individuals choosing to whether take occupancy of transitional housing. In most cases, the challenge becomes, or emergency shelters as well, that there's rules and guidelines, and they do not want to abide by them. They feel more safer out on the streets. And so therefore we have those issues on a regular basis, including to the winter months. So I want to thank staff again for, addressing the concerns I had earlier and then rewording the definition but still meaning the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Move item 2.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dotson. Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye. Motion to waive further reading and introduce the ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dotson. Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye.
Who will introduce? Okay. Thank you.
CM1,
No city manager report.
A1,
Thank you, Your Honor. We have CS1, closed session item, confidential, conference with labor negotiator. Under Government Code Section 54957.6A, with the various bargaining groups, the International Union of Service Employees, SEIU, Inglewood Management Employees Organization, IMEO, Inglewood Executive Organization, which is IEO, Inglewood Police Officers Association, IPOA, Inglewood Police Management Association, IPMA, Inglewood Police Civilian Management Association, IPCMA. The negotiators of the city were Artie Fields, which is the city manager, and Mr. Jack Hoffman, which is the chief negotiator, human resources, labor relations consultant. As to that item, discussions were held. No further action was taken. The next item was CS2, a closed session item for a pending litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection A, Devereux Demas versus City of Inglewood, case number CV 12-10880. A discussion was held with the attorneys, and no action was taken at this time. The next item is CS3, a closed session item for attorney-client privilege, potential litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection B, subsection 1, on the claim of Bergman and Dacey. There's a request for a motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye.
As to CS4, there's a request by the city attorney to also add the housing authority, which was done so prior to the closed session item. Mayor?
A
To call
quorum,
that.
a quorum is
Quorum
present.
is present.
Thank you. As to that item, which is closed session, potential litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9B1 of the claim of Kane, Balmer, and Berkman. There's a request for a motion.
So moved.
Madam Clerk.
Agency and council members Dotson. Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
I'm sorry?
Aye.
Oh, okay. Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Butts.
Aye.
The next item is CS5, closed session, attorney-client privilege, potential litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection B, subsection 1, the claim of Buckalter and Niemer. There's a request for a motion.
I so move. Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members. Dodson. Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye.
The last item is closed session item number 6, attorney-client privilege, potential litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection B, subsection 1, on the claim of White, Nielsen, Deal, and Evans. There's a request for a motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members. Dodson. Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye.
And as to item 2, verbal reports by the city attorney, there's none.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. CC1?
Mayor, if you could just close the meeting in memory of Liza Woods, the young lady who passed away, who worked within the city of Inglewood off and on for many years, and she passed away last week, and I would ask that you would close the meeting in memory of her. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right. CT1? Madam City Treasurer?
And this week, one was a farm credit. At the coupon is 1.56, and it is a 4 and 3/4 year bond, and it has 1 year of call protection, and it will also purchase a Freddie Mac, and it has a 1.875 coupon, and it is a 5-year bond, and it has 6 months of call protection. The rates continue to be quite low, and I would like to point out that with regards to the state pool, the LAIF pool, their current daily rate is 0.27, and we're talking about roughly about a $52 billion pool, and generally they have to stay rather short. They have to stay at least 1 year, so their rates are quite low. And the rates range, even in that area, about a 0.20, and that's about the highest for the 1 year, and even the 2 years, the highest is roughly about a 0.60. The 3 years, still quite low, highest is about 0.75, and the 4 and the 5 year is basically about the same, so the rates continue to be quite low. And the investment portfolio, currently, the current investment portfolio is roughly about $53,500,000. And my average rate is approximately 1.3. So the rates can continue to be quite low. Also would like to point out that I did attend a League of Cities conference that was held in San Diego, and I was held at the Hyatt Hotel. And if I didn't have navigation in my car, I would have ended up in Arizona. That was the hardest hotel to find, and I arrived at night. As a matter of fact, one other person did end at the border on his way to Tijuana. It's very, very tricky unless you really know where you're going. And I've been there before, but it's been many, many years. And anyhow, it was a very good conference. It was a combination finance officers conference along with the city clerks. And it was a 2-day conference. And some of the very good topics was sales and use tax collection techniques and property tax issues. Also revenue forecasting, which was quite interesting, and that was held on Wednesday. And on Thursday, one of the interesting topics was the Affordable Care Act implementation, and also managing the unclaimed property of your city. And also another very good topic was replacing aging financial systems in the city and pension reforms. And one of the questions that I did pose to the panel was that CalPERS have basically incurred something like a $56 billion loss. So I asked them that they don't plan to change the discount rate. How do they plan to overcome those losses? Because I knew the answer, but I just wanted them to say, you know, how they plan to overcome those losses. And basically, they're going to pass the rate on to the employers in order to recover those losses over the years, because they will not be able to make enough money and invest it in order to overcome $56 billion of losses. So, and also in the papers recently, as you might know, regarding Detroit's bankruptcy, you know, the federal court ruled that pensions are no longer untouchable, you know, for that particular case with regards to bankruptcy. So, and they think that's something that's going to really kind of sweep across the nation regarding Los Angeles and some of the other cities that are having issues with regards to their pensions. So pensions, although they were protected by state laws, under the federal, they are not protected, and they can be reduced. And that basically covers my comments, Mayor.
Thank you. CI1.
Initiative by Councilmember Padilla recommending approval to the sponsorship of the 2013 Annual District 2 Toy Drive celebration to be held Saturday, December 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Move approval. Second.
The second came from two different people. Okay.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye. CI2.
Initiative by Councilmember Franklin recommending adoption of a resolution supporting the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Volunteer Income Tax Assistant Program.
Move approval.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Councilmembers Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye. Public comment. Any persons, Ryan, could you come forward? Any persons wishing to address the council on any matter connected with city business not elsewhere considered may do so at this time.
Mayor Butts, council members, I'll keep it brief. Thank you for your time this evening. Before we begin, I want to say that this has been a difficult labor negotiation process for everyone involved, and we recognize that at 721. It's been difficult for you as the council, I'm sure. It's been difficult for staff, I'm sure. But it's been very difficult on our members who are losing their jobs during the holidays and who are sacrificing benefits to help the city maintain its financial health. Mr. Mayor, we met a few months ago to broadly discuss the city's finances. I made a commitment to you that SEIU Local 721 is committed to maintaining the financial health of the city in the long term. And I think through bargaining, which I'll talk about very broadly here, we met that commitment to the city to help the city in its time for financial need. SEIU 721 met with the city in good faith and in recognition that the city does face some very serious long-term financial challenges, primarily in the retiree health benefit for many of our members. And just to briefly to discuss how that process went, it was a very difficult decision for our members to make any concessions at all. It took many meetings for us to review the financials for our members to even be willing to move. After the layoffs, the existing retiree medical benefit was reduced by about 10%, as about 10% of the city staff was given layoff notices. SEIU 721 then made another proposal early on that reduced the existing retiree health liability by about 40%. We continued bargaining. We made another proposal which reduced the long-term liability for the retiree health for our unit by another 45%. Mayor and council, I'm here to tell you that we have bargained in good faith, that we are continuing to bargain in good faith, but our members have moved tremendously in just a few sessions that we've been here to try and get some very serious savings for the city, because we recognize the city has a long-term financial problem that ultimately may bankrupt the city, which obviously is not in the interest of our members. Why we're here today is to tell you is that we are in bargaining, we are serious about bargaining, but we may not be able to come to a resolution by the end of this fiscal year, by the end of this calendar year in December. We are bargaining in good faith. We believe that a grand bargain is possible, an agreement that works for both the union and that helps protect the city in the long term. But it's going to take time. It's going to take some creative thinking. We've only had a few sessions. There appears to be an urgency by the city to have this wrapped up by the time the city closes on December 19th. And we would just like to say that we are willing to bargain past that date, that we have been seriously bargaining, we continue to plan to seriously bargaining, and this is not a threat, it's a reality. But if for some reason, if the city does in the next week or so, come to the union with a last, best, and final. It will just entrench our positions, resulting in a long and expensive lawsuit on both sides. And in closing, thank you for your time, and I reiterate that we are bargaining in good faith. We hope the city recognizes that, and we will continue to bargain in good faith to both protect our membership and the city, but we cannot eliminate benefits for members who have been here for 20, 25, or 30 years.
Right.
We're counting on those benefits. Thank you.
Well, Mayor, City Council and staff, especially Mayor, each time I've come up the last few meetings to make a comment, at the end of the meeting, you would have something in a way to make me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. No. I do know what I'm talking about, and I would like the citizens to know that I know what I'm talking about. As an example, regarding District 1, our city newspaper that you'd prefer to call Inglewood Today as our city newspaper, there was a Mr. Thomas Bunn in the Inglewood Today, essentially stated, listen to this carefully, essentially stated that everyone in Inglewood is too old and should move out. In particular, Bunn wrote that homeowners in District 1 and District 4 are too old to matter. Believe me, I matter. My husband and I worked hard, and we paid for our home. We've been here almost 50 years. I matter. I may be old in years, but in spirit and physically, I'm not old. And I don't be threatened by a paper or someone writing in Inglewood Today to make disparaging remarks about me and the citizens of my district. I resent it. And as far as the meetings that you were counting last week, that it's a regular meeting, we never know when we're going to have a regular meeting. The seniors are supposed to be here at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock every other meeting. The seniors don't care about coming out to the 9th floor for a meeting. And then that 12 o'clock meeting where you were trying to close down a daycare center that's been in existence for over 50 years, I was so shocked when I came to that 12 o'clock meeting and saw all of those grandparents and parents walking in with their children begging you not to close down that center. I know what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I know what I'm talking about, council. And you can make any kind of disparaging remark about me that you want to when I sit down. Councilman Dotson, you know, I've never heard so many ayes in a city council meeting. I need somebody to explain things to me. Explain what's on this itinerary.
Your time is July.
I know my time is up.
Thank you.
And somebody else's time is going to be up pretty soon.
Mayor and council and members of large of the community of Inglewood. I'm Theola Gardner, and Mrs. Sly that just finished speaking, she was my first black neighbor. Coming up this Christmas, I will have been in Inglewood 52 years. I was one of those special people. I welcomed George Dotson, Councilman 1, when his family moved into Inglewood on my street. I've been appalled, however, at lack of support for his community. It's pathetic that the main object is to be on the council, but not support his neighborhood members. It's a sad, sad thing when someone identifies you as being too old. I'm very proud of my age, and I've gained a lot of wisdom through the years. I am in no way senile or in dementia. I don't forget, and that's a fact. We do not feel comfortable in our homes anymore because there's been too many negative changes, and it needs to come to an end. We do not have support from this council. It's not a democracy. It is not. It's a dictatorship. It's embarrassing. It's disgracing to us as a people. And I feel that you should know it. You are not a democracy. The only voice that we had, and our mayor helped support to destroy it, was Mike Stevens. But he will be back. He will be back. And he will be a rising star in this community. He is the one person that brought one of the most valuable changes to Inglewood. Sound insulation. No one else thought about it, but many of you have claimed to be supporters of it. I walked with that man when he started that. I walked with him. And I don't see a person up there that supported him. But you claim the rights, and that's libelous and unfair. And George Dotson, be sorry what you wish for.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to address the mayor and the council and citizens of the city of Inglewood and the concerned citizens of the city of Inglewood. Before I start on what I want to speak about, I just wanted to touch on, as far as the seniors is concerned, I've worked for the city of Inglewood for 22, 23 years. The city of Inglewood has always had a concern, and they made it their mission to take care of their senior citizens. And I would hope that the mayor and the council will continue in that long-standing tradition to do so. It was the city of Inglewood that recognized that the senior citizens came to the meetings. They were very involved. They were very involved in the block clubs, and they are the hub of our city. They are the backbone of our city as our senior citizens. And I just want the mayor and the council to keep that in mind when coming to decisions regarding their welfare. And saying that, I'd like to just speak for one moment. I've been, like I said, a citizen and an employee for Inglewood for over 22, 23 years. And I've seen a lot of changes come and go. I'm speaking of the entity that is the city of Inglewood. The entity of the city of Inglewood has come to us in tough times and decisions and asked things of its citizens as well as its employees to make cuts here and there in regards to our cost of living increases, certain benefits that we received. It's been a long time when we're doing that. But back in the day, the city of Inglewood flourished, the council flourished, the management flourished, the employees flourished. But fast forward to now, it's no longer like that. And I know that we're dealing with all kinds of changes in the economy, and we have a lot of problems that we still have to deal with and some forthcoming. I wanted to say this to say this. It is the union that always reminds us that the city of Inglewood employees are the union. But I like to go beyond that and say the city of Inglewood employees are the city of Inglewood. We give our time day in and day out for years. I've been here 22, 23 years and given up half of my day here, day in and day out, as well as a lot of other employees that I know of. And I'd just like to address this to you, Mayor, and I'm not trying to call you out, and I'm not trying to say anything disparaging to you. I'm just asking you to reflect on your time when you were working here. If when you were an employee of the city of Inglewood, you felt like you were never just looked over, taken advantage of, or just plain wrong, you know, if you never felt like that, God bless you and more power to you. But if you experience such things, just know and understand that a lot of the employees of the city of Inglewood feel that way right now. I know you have mighty decisions to make in regards to us, but we are the backbone of the city of Inglewood. We come here day in, day out, work for the citizens of the city of Inglewood. Just please take that in consideration, and please work a little harder to come to a more amicable decision to help us to maintain our lifestyles. I know several people that are going through life-changing decisions that have to end their employment to save a benefit. That's asking a lot of people. And we're working hard. We've made sacrifices throughout the years. We have a lot of long-standing employees been here, like I said, 20, 25, 30 years. We ask that you take us into consideration, and please do what's amicable and fair in regards to us. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Morris Griffin, better known as Big Money Griff, community activist and leader. I'm in the 1st District. I rise this evening to share with you possible solutions to the problems that we're facing here in our city. When we talk about the budget, 13 million, I understand. I would hope that if that is in fact true, that we consider Clear Channel to come in here with Citron screens that could go into our general fund to help us alleviate the problems that we're facing in our city when we talk about the debt. In addition to that, Proposition 30 was just passed this past year in the state of California, and it raised over $93 billion. Those dollars was designed for sheriffs, public works, code enforcement, schools, and other, health programs. So here are some of the things that I want you to understand, that on this day, I would ask that I not only give you a copy, because I believe a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And according to the documentation of substantiation and verification in my hands, it says that the governor has the discretion to divvy up this public fund the way he sees fit. So I would ask that you look into the true essence of the language, so that you can determine whether or not there's something there for local governments. And I want to emphasize local governments, because as you know, Inglewood pays the highest taxes. Out of the 88 cities in the LA County, Inglewood is, we pay some serious taxes. All right, so I think that Governor Brown, who will be looking for another term, would be able to find that Inglewood does deserve to be looked at extra hard in saving jobs in our city. And I would like to just say that as a county employee for 23 years, a shop steward, I was able to show how we can be better off tomorrow than we are today. And I would hope that on this day, this insight will help us help each other forevermore. That's all of my time. Thanks for your time. I'm Big Money Griff, over and out.
Mr. Griffith, with Prop 30, if we're talking about the same things, a temporary tax to fund education, and it's a temporary increase in personal income tax, so I don't see from Prop 30 how that could be used for anything but education. I didn't want to debate with you. I just wanted you to do some more research. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Gil Matthew, District 4 Mayor and City Council. I support the union, and my observation is you should appreciate this union because when I came along in 1957, this union has become very civil. So you should appreciate that. And I have my walking shoes on from 57, and I will march, if necessary. And I appreciated the comments of the financial officer. And he agrees with what I'm saying. You don't know how much money you have. You don't know. And I agree with everything he said. He gave 3/4 reports on the budget, the most transparency that I've seen in over 50 years that I've been here. And I read the financial reports. And I would suggest to you get another auditor. You haven't had a true auditor since Simpson and Simpson. You haven't had it. You had a milquetoast audit. And I might tell you the audits don't match. They do not match. There's errors in posting. And your computer is outdated. And you don't have the employees trained where to put the money when it comes in. That's serious. That is serious. I read the reports. I'm a businessman, retired, semi-retired, because I love what I do. I'm interested in the city because we have the fastest growing, diverse city west of the Mississippi. And Madison Square Garden didn't come here seeking us out. They came here for the money. USA is green. You have property sitting over here, location, 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 $90 million an acre. That's why the racetrack is closing. You can't make $99 million an acre or $90 million an acre running horses. The color is green. And Mr. Butts, you inherited a lemon. I recognize it. And you've been trying to make lemonade. And it's been that way since I've been here, so nothing's new. You have a tremendous responsibility. Tremendous. And I'm optimistic. It'll work. It's going to work. And believe me, Inglewood is the jewel of South Bay.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Joseph Texera, and I'm asking this council to remove James Butts as council chairperson due to the fact that this letter, dated November 12th from the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office and addressed to this council, describes why the district attorney found James Butts guilty of breaking the law and violating my civil rights. In the 4-page letter, the DA says, we reviewed recordings of city council meetings on August 27, 2013 and September 24, 2013, and observed that Mayor Jim Butts interrupted a member of the public, me, who was making public comments, and then ordered that person to be excluded from the meetings. As explained below, we conclude that the actions at both meetings violated the Brown Act. The DA goes on to say that the Brown Act protects the public's right to address local legislative bodies such as the City Council. Then, the DA describes almost a half a page of case law and says, applying the case law above to the conduct captured in the recordings, we find that Mr. Texera did not cause any actual disruption at either meeting at issue. Thus, excluding him from each meeting was unlawful. In the August 27, 2013 meeting, it is clear that Mayor Butts cut off Mr. Texera's comments in response to Mr. Texera calling Butts a liar. Mayor Butts' declaration that the conduct he was curtailing was not an exercise of free speech is incorrect. Likewise, Mr. Texera did not cause any disruption at the meeting on September 24th, 2013. On this occasion, Mayor Butts based his actions on the view that Mr. Texera's comments had veered off course and were no longer relevant to the specific agenda item involving the warrant register to pay Inglewood today. We disagree. Mr. Texera's comments remained relevant to the specific warrant register. Again, it is unlawful to cut off Mr. Texera's comments and have him excluded. Then the DA goes into about another half a page of Butts' misconduct and concludes by saying, "We hope that our explanation will assist your understanding of permissible action under the Brown Act and expect that from this point forward you will fully respect the rights of any member of the public to lawfully address the council." And it's signed Jackie Lacey, a woman of color, by the way. So just like James Butts was busted in Santa Monica for violating the law and American civil rights, now, not just according to me, but according to the DA, James Butts is busted for doing the same thing here in Inglewood. And I gave a copy of this to Willie Brown, so he has to write a story about it, or his deliberate bias is going to be exposed again.
Thank you, Mr. Texera. Appreciate it.
I'm you know, I want to say this. I was going to speak on something, but I'm going to speak on this. You can't hear me? Let me speak up. Give me, if you can just pull back the time. The hour has come, here and now, that you will no longer attack this mayor. Mayor Butts is the mayor of the city of Inglewood. What happens in the district attorney's office or the police department or behind closed doors in public comment in public session is within the jurisdiction of those involved. I go way back with this man. He was a police officer. He was an excellent police officer, and the police officers that he worked with that were black, Japanese, Chinese, and white, and other ethnic colors, they all worked together in this city and protected everyone in this city. But let me just share with you, your personal attacks have to stop because they are affecting us. And it hurts my heart to come here to listen to it. If you want to handle city business, let's do the city business. But you can't come and personally attack individuals. And when you are being attacked, you come on defensive. You have no choice but to be on defensive. He doesn't have an armored guard there standing to protect him to answer your attacks. I'm asking public, if you're residents of this city, if you're respectful residents of this city, respect the man that sits here. He's the mayor of the city. He's the chief in charge. Now, I will say one last thing only. The farm, the fabulous farm that's coming, if you remember when the Lakers was there and the Kings were there, it brought so much money in this city, you didn't have to worry about losing your jobs or your benefits being on the line. The fabulous farm, the Madison Square Garden bought it. They spent $51 million. That's what I understand. Well, guess what? That's going to bring so much money in this city. I ask that you put a stay. If people are going to lose their jobs, put a stay on their jobs until after January when Madison Square Garden opens up. Because guess what? That's where the money's going to come from to help a lot of these jobs in this city. Not for the farm, but in this city. And it just hurts my heart for you to do this and attack. And I was really attacked because I ran for city government for the 1st District. And if I told you how they did me, but I never came here and told you how they did me. I'm a lady with class, and I come with dignity and in order, respectfully. Sorry my time is up, but I wasn't rehearsed.
Thank you, Ms. Ford.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm here on behalf, of course, of my granddaughter right here that's been acting up all night. And you guys, we recently came in as parents and grandparents to talk about the preschool situation. We got a letter that said it's not going to close, but guess what? We don't know when it's going to close or who's going to be teaching And if where it's going to be, this is what the letter said. The teachers that are there, which is only 3 teachers that you guys have, of course you know that, they don't even know if they're going to come back and have a job or what, but they're saying that the school is not going to close. We're all confused. All the parents are really confused. We don't know after Christmas, are we going to have Lock Haven open, or are the doors going to be closed? And if their doors are open, who's going to be teaching? Do we have to go through a different kind of program? Do we have to start all over? I mean, you guys haven't given us a definite, and we've been up here time after time after time, and it's just getting, you know, kind of redundant. And, you know, I know you guys are tired of probably hearing us, but we're tired of speaking on this situation, and it just, to me, doesn't make any sense. My granddaughter just turned 3, not even 3, but she's supposed to be 3. But she's learned a lot in the little time. She started school October 1st, and she's learned a lot since she's been in this preschool. And I just think you guys need to give us, before December 19th, some kind of a definite as to if Miss Maria and the other teachers are going to be back, you know, what's going, just give us the flat definite of what's going on, because I get up every morning and I volunteer every day at the preschool. Every day I'm there for those 4 little hours, and it makes a difference with all the kids. And there's all the parents volunteer. We have a good rapport between everybody. And I just want you guys to take in consideration that the letter that you guys sent out to the parents was not, I mean, it still left us in the dark, and that's the teachers included. And just to see if we can come up with some resolution, like I said before, to maybe have some kind of fundraisers or something, you know, raise the rate of the daycare, because it's very reasonable for the people who do take their kids, you know, and then get the word out. If lack of students is a problem, get the word out, because I didn't even know about it until my cousin went, which is, she's in the 4th grade now. So that was some years ago. So thank you for hearing me out, and hopefully we can get a letter of something before the 19th. Thank you.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Ray Davis, 2nd District. I'm going to try to give a lift on the meeting and speak about a human being that is being celebrated. His life is being celebrated. If your mourning is death, you're missing the point. His name was Nelson Mandela. I hope that going into the new year, we can make the man proud, because we can grow. We can evolve from where we're at. We may be in a good spot. Evolve to something better. You may not be in such a good spot. Evolve out of that to something better. My respect for him took time. I had to get to know him first. The man that went into prison, he missed me. I said he's brave, he's noble, but he's a fool. He went up against an obvious evil called apartheid, but he used a greater evil called Marxism to fight it. But while he was in jail, he evolved, he grew up, he became better than hate. And that's why we celebrate his life. He did the impossible because he was willing to change. And maybe we all can learn from that. With my last minute and 23 seconds, I hadn't been to a couple of meetings, so I missed a lot of excitement here in our city. You know, all the best to the 2 officers involved in that hostage situation. If it wasn't for body armor and lots of luck in the Lord, we could have been dealing with a tragedy. Thank God that isn't the case, huh? Okay. And in closing, again, I'll go back to Nelson Mandela. I'm probably going to make enemies and annoy people in my last 38 seconds, but our president, you remember I voiced my concern and displeasure at something he did when he was elected the second time. He invoked the words "take revenge" in order to win that election, and he invoked it upon young people. Can you imagine what would have happened if Mandela had held on to his hate and come out of that jail and told the minions of the ANC, "take revenge"? South Africa would be a nuclear wasteland now. So we all need to grow up. Ladies and gentlemen, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to all of you. And goodwill toward men. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Good evening, Mayor Butts and council members and city staff. These are such trying times in our city still. Mayor Butts, you have worked so hard to bring hope and rejuvenate this city and keep us out of bankruptcy. You've pulled us back from the edge of that disaster, and I appreciate it so much, and I'm so glad that I voted for you, and I'm hoping you can do it again. I know that all the city staff, these layoffs and work furloughs and the pension issues are serious business, and I feel for everyone who works for the city all these years, but every city in our state is suffering this issue. And the retirement, pension costs, health care costs have to be adjusted. I hope that everybody will chip in on that and we can let people keep their jobs, but you all have my faith and trust because I voted for you after doing a lot of research about all of you. You all have the skill set that we need in your careers. And I appreciate that, and a lot of District 2 people that voted for you, Councilman Padilla, we worked hard. We know you can do it. And I know that you're also bargaining in good faith because you all have deep roots in this community. You have friends, you've had career co-workers all these years. You don't mean anyone harm. I know that. So you hang in there, and please keep doing the good job that I expected of you when I voted for you. Thank you very much, and have a good holiday, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Willie A.G., and I live in the beautiful city. And that's one of our great park and recreation commissioners that just spoke, and I want to piggyback on every word that she said. We have a problem here in the city. We have some great employees, and some of them will, I don't know for sure, I hope not, but some of them might get laid off or furloughed, whatever the city have to do to make this city what it's supposed to be. I know a lot of these employees, and they are great, believe me. But as a 37-year Teamster, I saw something last night that really hurt me. SEIU, I supported them, but I can no longer support the SEIU. Anytime a union steps so low to go to the mayor's house and picket him, that's a disgrace. That's not union. That's not union. It should never have happened. The people that supported the union, that went up there and picket him, I don't have no problem if they get laid off, because they deserve it. This is the place you come to to address your problem right here. This city have to do what they have to do. Mr. Texter, I think you left, but I want you to know one thing. I don't give a damn what color DA is. If you're doing wrong, you're doing wrong. Inglewood is a charter city. We make our own rules here. That council up there makes our own rules. These people need to stop coming up here demeaning the mayor and this council and the city of Inglewood. It's not helping the city. If you want to harm the city, just keep doing it. But if you want the city to grow, this man and this council, look what they're doing to this city. This is going to be the #1 city in the United States, believe me. And it's because of Mayor Butts. Because if he hadn't been elected, this city would be bankrupt. Look at it 3 years from now. Give it 3 years. All these naysayers, they'll still be here. But you know something? We got people here that's strong. We got a council that's strong.
Mr.
And we're
Agee,
going to keep you there.
we're done.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Diane Sombrano, and it's interesting that we started this meeting pledging to the flag of the United States of America. That flag and the state still rule this city. And the laws that that flag represent also rule this city. No one, not any member of this council, is above that flag and that law. Yet some of them think that they are. And it's unfortunate that there are people that come before this platform and speak about things that they have not done research, but I will go back and reiterate that I have all the budgets dating back to, yes, Howard Roston, Paul Eccles, and Norm Cravens, and as you tried to point out a little while ago about my attacking African Americans, those 3 men were whiter than white. And they refused to give me information, but the law prevailed and I got those city budgets. And among those city budgets, surprise, surprise, what we received from the forum when the Lakers was there was an even wash to what we were paying then adds up advertising Inglewood Today magazine. A total wash. Documents are there. Someone should have a copy. You can go look it up. If not, I'll provide it. So no, the forum did not give us a lot of money back then. But then again, I actually know how to read numbers. That's what I did in my profession. I also ran businesses as part of my profession. And it is interesting to me that when we have the individuals offering a 45% benefit cost savings to us, that those in charge refuse to even take a 10% one. That's disgusting. That is not being a part of leadership in our community. That's being a vampire, a profiteer, and inappropriate. Many of you have significant dollars, you tell us, in your own personal lives, and those are the dollars you should be drawing on. You see, I remember when Al Davis and Merle Mergell and all those guys sat here for practically nothing, and everyone went to their homes on a regular basis, not just to this room, to discuss items. My, how times have changed, but that's when the city actually did prosper.
Good evening. I'm Glenda Brass, District 2. And
This is a really emotional time for a lot of the city employees, and I honestly get that. I imagined how I would feel if I were told after some years that I would not be getting a benefit that was previously promised to me. I just might experience some emotions as well. But this is what I also hope I would have experienced. I believe that I would have felt that the city is going to be putting in as much time and energy into the decision that I put into my job while I was in it. I would trust that my city would have taken the time and energy to analyze the situation in total before coming to some conclusion. Well, the fact is that this is what our city has done. They have analyzed a situation thoroughly, and they have evaluated the short-term and the long-term impact of a benefit that was previously given to city employees that was, in my opinion, given in error. It was given without any real serious thought about the consequences down the road. It sounded like a good idea at the time, but of course, we now understand and know that it really didn't make a whole lot of sense. And what I would say to those individuals impacted is that you have to look at it not from an emotional place, but from a logical business perspective. I know it's difficult when emotions are involved, but that's what we have to do. We have to know that the individuals here are accountable. They're not making the decision without some emotions behind it, because people's lives are impacted as a result of the decisions that they make. I know they're very, very tough decisions. And they know, and we know, that if this continues, if we continue in the current vein, everybody loses. Not just the employees that are going to be impacted if the benefit, the health benefit, is removed, but the city will lose. Every single person, the remaining employees will lose. Everybody loses if this continues to go unchecked. Right now, from what I understand, based on the information, that $5 million of the $7 million, the deficit is as a result of the current benefit situation. So I would say, Mr. Mayor,
10 seconds.
Council, and staff, I'm a citizen of this great city, and I support you 100%. I know the decision that you make will be the best decision for the city, and I stand behind you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Larry Springs, and I'm in the 1st District. And I just want to talk about the things that have been coming to the lectern, about the budget, the laying off of the individuals that have been employed here for the city for many years. As my colleague had just mentioned, it is a difficult time for not only the citizens and the people here in the city of Inglewood, but throughout the entire state of California, and actually throughout the entire nation. Each city is going through some difficult times at this particular time. We as citizens elected our mayor and our city council to help us get out of these problems that we're having. I, as a citizen, as a business owner here in the city, do believe that our mayor and city council will be able to work out any problems that we have and solve them for us, because that's why we elected them. I do understand the problems that they're going through as far as being an employee. At one point, I was an employee here at the city of Inglewood, so I do understand the difficulties for those people who may be laid off. However, I do believe that our mayor and our city council will be able to remedy any problems that's about to come about. So and I agree with this young lady had mentioned once before, we have to be able to support our mayor and our city council. That's important for us to support them, because if we support them, they'll be able to support us as well. So I'm supporting our mayor and our city council. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and staff. I am Ted Brass, and I'm a business owner in the city of Inglewood. I live in the Great District 2, Councilman Padilla. A business owner in the city of Inglewood for over 35 years. And in my business career, I've had to make some tough decisions. And it's gone full circle. And over the last 5, 6, 7 years, I've had to make even some tougher decisions. I've had to let some people go that I enjoyed working with. They did a great job. But it's a matter of making that business decision, that tough decision. I stood here several months ago when the issue of permits and fees came up. I knew that it would affect my business. I'm a commercial broker. I bring business to, I sell real estate to commercial business owners. I knew that those fees would affect them, and yes, affect me as well in my business here through the city. But I supported you because my attitude was it's best for the city. I look at pro football, I'm a fan, and I see constantly here the owner says we had to make a decision that's best for the team. And I liken that to the decision that you've got to make, the decision that you just made, the decision that's best for the team, the best interest of the city of Inglewood. And yes, it's a tough decision, and I'm in limbo as well, but I voted, I elected you, and I am going to support you in that decision because I feel that you will make the decision that's best for the team, the city of Inglewood. So my hat's off to you. I support you. I am looking at the longevity of the city of Inglewood and allowing it to continue to prosper and to be a viable city here in Southern California. Thank you for the job that you're doing. I know it's tough, but once again, it is a job and a decision I'm sure that you will make that's in the best interest of the team, the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Close public comment. Council comments, Councilman Dodson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to start with something that happened around Thanksgiving. I was invited to the Kingdom Initiative Community Outreach Dinner. This is a group of churches, diverse cultures, and denominations, and they all got together, and they put on this Thanksgiving dinner, and they fed pretty close to 300 people, and I was there, and I wanted to commend them on their affair and the people that they were able to feed. It was really something to see, and to me, that's what this season's all about, is giving. And I wanted to commend the Kingdom Initiative Community Outreach for their outreach in feeding the people who were not able to feed themselves. The other thing is District 1, Councilman Dotson. I'm doing a toy and gift card drive. We're still receiving these toys and gift cards until the 12th at the ICOP Center at 7th and Manchester. Please, if you have not done so, please come by and leave a donation.
You can do it until the 12th. It's from 10 to 3 p.m. Someone will be there to take your donation. And I want to say that I'm proud to be a part of this council. I know that decisions that we're going to have to make are tough, but I'm working with professional people. We have the best staff that I've ever seen, and they give us the information we need to make the tough decisions. And believe me, the people that I work with on this council, we're going to make the best decision for this city. That's why we were elected, and that's why I was elected, and I'm going to do the best I can for this city. I live here. I live in District 1. I don't just visit it. I live there, and I've lived there for over 40 years, and I'm going to make the kind of decisions that I know they want me to make. And once again, thanks for coming out. Always appreciate your comments. Might not agree with all of them, but I still appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a very pleasant evening and a wonderful holiday.
Councilman Padilla.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to make a couple of comments. We had several guest speakers come up, community members, and a couple of them talked about whether or not they matter. And I got to tell you, anytime anybody comes to one of these meetings or does anything involving our city, they matter. We care about everybody, and we want to receive folks' input, their recommendations. We value that. That's what these meetings are all about. What I don't agree with is when you have union folks go down to the mayor's house and pick it out in front. I think that's uncalled for. That's not what it's about, and you know, I don't agree with that. We had a gentleman come up here and talk about the union, and yes, the gentleman's right. We have been working hard with not only one union, but we have 6 unions that we're in negotiations with, trying to resolve some of the concerns so that we can have a sustainable city and not go into bankruptcy like the gentleman mentioned. We got to think about the future of Inglewood. This council and the mayor and city staff, we're not going to be kicking the can down the road any longer. We got to address these concerns and make sure that we can have a workforce here in the future, because we're going to be sustainable. I want to make it clear that we care deeply about our workforce and about their families and being able to provide for them and to put a roof over their head, feed their families. That's important. That's why we're all do what we do, is to do it for our families. But at the same time, we have to make sure that the city is going to be able to move forward. And yes, we are going to be making some tough decisions, but those decisions aren't just arbitrarily made. We have negotiations, as I mentioned, that are done in good faith. We go back and forth, back and forth. We give them a proposal, they give us a proposal. We look at each one, they look at what we're giving them, and it's a give and take. It's not just done in one meeting. It's done in several meetings. And I want to commend both groups, all groups, for coming to the table and dealing in good faith. That's what it's all about, working together to resolve the community's concerns. We talked about layoff notices. Yeah, we did give layoff notices, but nobody's been laid off. We're still moving forward. No final decisions have been made. You know, this continues to be a work in progress. And I want you to know that that's what we do in our meetings, is we really discuss these issues and resolve them. And so, again, just thank you for coming out. We appreciate your input, and we appreciate having you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Morales.
Just to continue on that for a moment, excuse me. You know, a few years back, we went through a similar situation where we had layoffs, and it was difficult then. And it's even more difficult now because we thought we would be in a better place. But much like the item we spoke about earlier, when you dig deeper, you have bigger problems. And you must fix those problems. And either we're going to do it for the long haul, or we're just going to put a Band-Aid on it and have to have this same conversation a year from now, 2 years from now. I can tell you that it would be a lot more easy for me and the rest of the council if we just made everything go away and voted in benefits that we can't afford, voted in salaries that we can't afford, kept jobs that we can't afford to keep. That would be easier on a personal level. A lot of us know a lot of people. There's some friends out there that work for the city, but that would be completely irresponsible of us. This particular situation that we're going through because of we can say it's basically the healthcare debt, the unfunded liability we have, retiree medical. It's not a unique problem to the city of Inglewood. This is going on across the state, across the country. You know, we all know that. And we have to stop pretending like it doesn't affect us. It only affects every other city. LA, which is a huge city. LA County. You know, they have some big hurdles ahead, a lot bigger than ours. But we have to address it in a way that's going to fix the problem, not just slow it down, not let's talk about it in 2 years. We're either going to make that tough decision or we're not. You know, when we hear the employees talking, we feel it. Of course we feel it. These are families. But we would not be thinking about all of the other employees in this city if we don't make that right decision. Alex mentioned that there was a protest at the mayor's house yesterday. You know, what really stuck out about that, you know, which is something, you know, once you go that route, it makes it seem like maybe the other side believes that there's something being not discussed. There's something being held back. But the truth of the matter is, when those things happen, they don't change the economics of the problem. We still have to come back here and do the math on the lifetime medical. We still have to come here and do the math on what we can afford to do and what we can't afford to do, no matter what they say, no matter what they do. And we're going to do it. And it's going to be difficult, but I am very proud to be on this council. I've been on this council over 10 years, along with Mr. Franklin, and I can tell you that I'm very proud to be part of a council that's willing to make these tough decisions and fix Inglewood for the long haul, regardless of our political impact. That's it. Thank you, Mayor. Sorry about that.
No problem. Councilman Franklin.
Yeah, so let me piggyback on my colleague's comments. Yes, there are 6 bargaining units that we have a negotiating team on behalf of the city for meet and conferring. And so, yes, this body gives direction to our negotiating team on moving forward, on hoping to reach a successor agreement that the parties will ratify and that we will live with for years to come. The challenge becomes is that when you take your energy beyond the dais and the podium and you put it in the residency of individuals that have no comments, no direction whatsoever, and to go to the residential house of where the mayor resides is inappropriate when you're dealing with family members that dwell there that have no vote, no direction, and no input about what we do here at the council. And so I am very disappointed to hear about that. And as the mayor knows, I did call him. My goal was try to be there in support of our team, but I'm also gearing up for the District 4 9th Annual Toy Food Drive, which is scheduled for this Thursday, where the benefactors will come from 5 to 8 p.m. and bring us the toys and food items at the Police Community Center at 2666 West Imperial Highway. I also want to identify that our heart goes out to the City of Inglewood. It goes out to the Salvation Army and the many other sponsors that helped us support the Miracle on Manchester. For those that don't know, we had reached and worked with the Salvation Army to pre-screen individuals in our communities that are low and very low income that would not have a Thanksgiving dinner if it wasn't for us reaching out to trying to get others to help others. And that's what we do here on the Dice. We help each other. So we was instrumental to galvanize the community and businesses to be able to not 100 or 200 individuals, but 1,033 families was able to receive a food basket with gift cards to buy their own perishable products. We're hoping to be able to do 150 families for the District 4 City of Inglewood project. And we also reach out to make sure that our seniors and those foster families also are treated and given consideration as much as we can as well. And then finally, no one has a comment about it, but Mayor, I would like you to close in honor of Nelson Mandela, and then you can expand on that. But we also want to give thanks to the city staff, city manager, and all that was involved over the several 300 to 400 that was here last Thursday, December the 5th, on the south side of City Hall, where it was cold, to bring in the celebration of the holidays with Santa coming. And I just want to make sure that Tanisha Johnson, our Miss Claus, and Sabrina Barnes and her staff, and all that was involved did an excellent job, and that we want to thank the 300 to 400 residents that came to that event as well and made it such a success. Thank you, and everyone have a good night.
Thank you. I'm going to take a couple minutes extra today. I spent 19 years here working for the city of Inglewood, and the city took very good care of myself and my family. And as a manager, I was second in command of the police department, general manager in Santa Monica, and an assistant general manager at the airport, and I prided myself on taking care of my employees. That being said, what I learned along the way is that cities are not job factories. The responsibility is to provide services to the residents. Employees provide those services, and they should be well taken care of. But cities have to be managed responsibly, or there are going to be problems. In the time before I got on the council, we burned through over $44 million in reserves in about 4 years' time, Mr. Falco, $44 million. Somebody very irresponsible led employees to believe that every employee that worked here, if you worked here for 5 years, had X number of hours of sick or vacation leave to turn in, then you could have lifetime medical for you and a dependent. And that means you might not even be married when you leave here, but if you got married later, the city now is going to pay for that person who wasn't even around when you were here for the rest of his or her life as well. We have employees out there with a 90-10 PPO that we're paying $2,000 a month plus any increase, whether it be 5%, 10%, 15% every year, uncapped, that the city's on the hook for. It extrapolates actuarially over the next 25 years to $191 million in unfunded liability. We have been worked so hard, and we've reduced an $18.6 million deficit down to $7 million this year. $5 million of that deficit is retiree medical costs that are uncapped, and if not one other person were to receive that benefit, leave and receive that benefit, in the next 4 to 5 years will be $7 million. Is that right, Mr. Falco? It'll increase to $7 million by itself. Cities our size cannot afford to offer lifetime medical to every employee. It's economically impossible. It can't be supported by our general fund. To do something like that, you would have to float a bond, attach it to people's property taxes to come up with $191 million. Cities our size just don't do that. Now, let me tell you how cities get in the position of going bankrupt, like what happened the other last night. Now, I moved probably about 6 months ago, isn't that right, Glenda? Because she found a place for me. And I didn't tell people I moved because, you know what, I feel like there's some nuts that come to this council meeting. I don't care what any letter says. There are some unstable people that come in here. And I live in a security area now. to come to my in-laws' house when we're negotiating in good faith, I'm sorry, to me that's negotiating in bad faith. There are proposals that have gone back and forth across the table, and we're responding to the latest one through our representatives. So to decide, so to me, that strikes of an attempt to intimidate someone. You know, to hurt my in-laws who've lost 2 children in the last 13 months to cancer at the age of 54. They're bothered with that nonsense while we're negotiating. And let me tell you how cities end up in a situation of Stockton, Detroit, Vallejo, San Bernardino, all of whom bankrupt, because political pressure on elected officials to not listen to professionals that handle the money when they tell them, you know, we can't afford this. Because elected officials don't think of anything but pass the next election. Okay? And I refuse, this council refuses to do that here in Inglewood anymore. And so that doesn't mean we haven't offered what we feel are generous offers for a benefit that was never funded either by the employees or the city that will bankrupt this city. And we are still willing to spend reserve funds to offer something to the employees. That is not bargaining in good faith, and it doesn't deserve what happened last night. You deserve, the residents deserve, to make decisions on what your priorities are. So how many ways can you have it? Can you say, we must have this benefit the city can't afford in its entirety, and then you must keep every employee that is here? So where's the money going to come from? More taxes? Bonds? That's not what you want. You want a reasonably sized workforce. This work should have started been done years ago. When the city started spending double-digit millions of dollars of their reserves, someone should have said, hey, this isn't right. We're going to be broke. So here we are. Here we sit. We love these employees, but everyone deserves a stable economic platform to know their city's going to be here. The residents deserve to know there's money set aside to pave your streets, cut your trees, fix the water system. We've made the tough decisions to get the funds available to deliver city services. But I'm going to tell you, obviously, if we're going to offer a benefit like was offered, our workforce is too large. So we're stuck with what's out there already, but we have to right-size the workforce, and the ultimate outcome of that will be after sincere, good faith negotiations. The council won't be going over to employees' houses trying to intimidate them. All right? Could you imagine? Could you even imagine? No, I think that's outrageous, and I'll say it right now. It's outrageous. It was an attempt to make me, because they feel I'm a pivotal person, to ignore the math. And we're not even through negotiating yet. You cannot outrun math. You cannot. So I'm going to tell you something. We're going to get through this. Love these employees. They deserve better than they've gotten, but they deserve adult leadership and hard decisions right now. That's just how it's got to be. And so we're not through negotiating, and so I hope that they stop that nonsense that occurred last night. I want to close the meeting in the name of Lysa Woods, an employee who worked actually for Councilwoman Dunlap. She worked as an administrative secretary for in other sections of the city. And of course, in the name of Nelson Mandela, spent 27 years in a prison in South Africa, ultimately become the president and an icon in our time. And we're adjourned. Mm-hmm.